as you can see, we are collecting donations for the USBC Mixed. So get your donos in. Still 11 days to go until that event starts. Oh my God, these pop-ups. Hopefully I don't have to just constantly close them throughout the stream.
Yeah, well, I would say also, I don't know if you talked about the format, which is really kind of strange.
I did not. What is the format?
Well, so the format was there was a round robin of the bottom 10 seeds to eliminate three teams, which obviously you're about to talk us through. And then that was to cut the field to 16. But instead of just having 16-team knockout bracket, there's a round robin to eliminate eight teams and then a quarterfinal.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's true. So we're going to have a 3-day round robin for the 16 teams that did qualify. And then, of course, as Craig said, we're going to go into directly a quarterfinal matchup, head-to-head knockouts from there. Yeah, I don't know why they set it up this way.
It's very strange. I mean, that could mean that some of the top seeds potentially could not make it to the quarterfinal. And one reason would be there's a number of very strong teams, as we'll see as we go through them, but some weak teams. There could just be some randomness in the round robin that affects the top of the standings, which seems like a terrible way to pick a representative.
Yeah, I mean, so we're taking one team.
Especially since there's a bracket number, right? There's a bracket number going into day one. Why not just run a bracket?
Exactly. Yeah, it does seem a little bit silly that some of the teams got a bye from this round robin, but then like they're going into another round robin. Um, anyway,
Right.
all right. Let's take a look at the three teams that did get knocked out in the original round robin to cut the field down to 16. So we have Kolesnik, which is four-handed, Alex Kolesnik, Ron Smith, Jangu, and Walter Lee. We have Woolsey, which was a six-handed team with Kit Woolsey, Fred Stewart, I guess, Steve Beatty, Jeff Aker, Mark Feldman, and James Holtzauer. And then there is Team Zhang, which is Vinny Zhang, Nicole Chan, Ava Donnellan, and David Long. I don't know. What are your thoughts on the three teams that got knocked out? Any surprises here?
Well, once again, I realize this is just like turning to a session of me airing my grievances in the USBF, but the teams are in alphabetical order, not seed order. So it's a little hard to say what the surprises were without knowing exactly who was in this bottom 10. Um, I would say kind of looking at the teams that qualified, no huge surprises except maybe the Kolesnik team. They're four-handed, but that's a pretty strong squad. Alex, Ron, Jang, and Walter are all excellent players. I think the Wolsey team is one that's probably a little better on paper than in reality at this point, particularly Fred Stewart. He had actually retired from bridge and then I guess unretired, but he had decided he was going to stop playing high-level bridge. Maybe Steve or Kit talked him into coming back. And the Zheng team I know nothing about. So I would say, the Wolsey team is one that they probably thought they were a favorite to qualify, and maybe they were. But I think that's a team that, 10, 15 years ago played much better than they do now.
Yeah, so it looks like in terms of seeding order, Kolesnik and Woolsey were like middle of the pack. The teams that did qualify that were beneath them are Parrish, Han, Baseggio, and then Kolesnik had a bit of a higher seed than the Woolsey team. So in between those two squads, there's also Jacobs and Kovachev, as well as Rothy. So those are the teams that, in theory, would have been lower seeds than the ones that got knocked out. Zhang was by far the lowest entrant.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a team of juniors, given how few seeding points they have.
Yeah, so Nickell and Ava, I think I've seen before actually competing in the USBCs. I think they might have played last year. I'm just going to take a quick look at last year's entrance. No, maybe they played in the mixed or something. But those are names that I actually recognize from competing in some of these big events. Not necessarily the strongest players, but just doing it for experience, I think. And then I'm not familiar with David Long and Vinny Zhang.
Yeah, I guess we've said, many times, if you have a chance to play in it, it is just one of the great events on the calendar. So, playing for experience in this event is absolutely worth it, especially the online stage. You can play at home. You qualify, get to go to Chicago for a couple of days and play in a world-class round robin, totally worth it.
Gotcha. Yeah, thanks. G2R2 says that Ava's currently a student at NYU, which makes sense. So a junior player. Yeah. Okay.
I think I've run into her around New York, but now that I know who she is, I'll try to look out for her.
So, other teams that. So I guess those are the three teams that didn't end up making it through to the round of 16. So we bid adieu to Klesnik, Woolsey, and Zhang. And yeah, like you said, I mean, I don't think any of these teams really were favorites in the event coming in or necessarily favorites to qualify, but they're going to be disappointed to have been knocked out early, although I imagine some of the players on these teams will actually be competing in the mixed. Not
or the
certain.
Seniors in the case of the Woolsey.
Well, there's no seniors this time around. It's just open and mixed.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, we're selecting one team for the open and one team for the mixed, which means next year we're going to select one more team for each of these two categories, as well as both women's teams and both seniors teams.
Got it.
Okay, so now I guess we get to the meat of this, the top 16. Where do you want to start? Do you want to go in seeding order? I can arrange that. Or do you want to go in just alphabetical order? Or do you just want to pick and choose? What do you think?
I will leave that to you. Is there a convenient way to sort by seeding?
No.
Is column H sortable?
No, I can just do it in my head.
No, it isn't. Yeah, you do it manually.
That's fine. We can go in seeding order. So let me go ahead and re-pull up the thing.
Yeah.
Open seeding points. So currently the lowest entrant that we have is going to be Team Baseggio with 9.82 average seeding points. Franco, the team captain, is going to have I guess Itai is the team captain listed first, but Franco has the most of those. But all of the players relatively, I would say, equal in terms of skill level and seeding points for the most part. Josh Scher, a little bit lower than some of the others.
Yeah, I think Josh has played the least bridge of the four of them. He's prioritized his career, but a very good player. And he actually is... He might have retired at the end of last year, or might be retiring at the end of this year. I can't remember, but he's about to be a man of leisure, so possibly we'll start seeing him much more regularly.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've played on teams with Franco. You've played with Franco before. I have played on teams with Itai. I don't know if you've played with Itai.
Actually, Itai and I played regularly for several years.
Okay.
Finally stopped. I think we were a little bit incompatible, and he's really a resulter, which drove me a little batty. But we're still friends. I mean, he stopped doing it, but when he was organizing those Alton OCBL teams, I was a regular on his squads.
Right.
Oh yeah, you played on some of those. Yeah, I mean, Franco, for those who don't know, is one of my closest friends, so I'm very familiar with his game, although he and I talk a lot more than we actually play together. But yeah, I think the Baseggio-Ferro partnership is, I would say, honestly, a little bit shaky. Ferro took a long time off the game, and I know they played together in a few major tournaments recently, and it sounded just like they didn't quite have the same understanding of a lot of situations. And maybe that'll get better. They're both experienced players who are pretty smart guys. Maybe they just needed some more time to work things out. But I think, possibly Ferro's off and Franco is very much a system guy who stays current. I wonder if there were some issues regarding that, because Franco would just give me a bunch of hands, and there would be a lot of things where it's well, sort of no one did anything wrong as long as both people were playing in the same decade. But when one person is playing in 2000, one person is playing in 2026, You get some accidents?
Yeah, absolutely. I am going to actually look up to see if we can get, because I think they played on Real Bridge. Is that correct? The qualifier. I'm going to take a look and see if we can actually find the qualifier results. I do not see them.
I also I'm curious what Franco is up to because he spent the last week in Portland, Oregon. I've been texting with his wife regularly, who's a old college friend of mine, and it seems like it would make they're flying home or she's flying home with the kids today, and it seems like it would make sense for him to not detour to New York to go back to Chicago, but I don't actually know what his plans are.
Hmm.
We do have Andy Stark's wife's birthday party tomorrow that I know is invited to. Maybe he's going to come back for that since he and Andy are so close.
Oh,
But it
very
does seem
cool.
like an annoying. Yeah, it does seem like an annoying travel weekend, though. Portland to New York, and then I guess actually I guess he can't go to the party because of the trials start. Well, the trials start Monday. He could fly Sunday. Just make sure not to go too crazy on Saturday night. But yeah, it just seems kind of annoying to fly cross country and then halfway back in 2 days.
Yeah, absolutely. So I
Anyway,
think we've talked this one through a bit.
yeah, agree.
I'm going to put Baseggio in the happy to be there category. I mean, obviously, when we played with them back in 2015, I guess it was in the trials, we had a pretty close run at making the semifinals of the event.
Yeah.
But
Although Franco was the only person who overlapped on that team, obviously.
exactly, yeah. So, I think this is a much weaker team than we had back then. And obviously, with, all of these other life considerations, I think has made it
Yeah.
Bridge a little bit less of a priority for them. Again, I think they're probably going to be a staple showing up at these events to compete for years to come.
Yep.
But yeah, I think they're
They could
probably
beat some good teams, but I agree. Yeah. I think their seeding is probably more or less justified.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see. Next up, we have in terms of seeding here is going to be Team Han. And taking a look at them, Team Han
Yeah, I
ended
got
up
nothing.
playing last year, but they were six handed. Last year, they had Jeff Fang, Ming Sheng, Wan Feng Mu, and Yanong Han. So it is four of the same members that played last year. The two members that are not going to be returning are Jack Zhao and Tianchun Yang for that team. And okay, so it looks like Ming Sheng has the majority of the seeding points on the team, but once again, fairly evenly divided. I do recall that last year, all of the round of 16 matchups were very close throughout at least the first three quarters. So I don't remember who Team Han played last year in their round of 16 matchup, but obviously they were competitive with one of the top teams because once again, they were probably one of the bottom seeds in that event. So
I, I wonder what all of Shang's seeding points are from.
yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, just looking at the ACBL numbers on the left side, three of them don't have a letter listed, which, like,
Yeah, but that doesn't mean anything. Look at the Jacobs team; those guys are all life masters.
right.
It's just because they
Yeah,
gave the USBF.
yeah. So, I mean, you could probably just send
You could
your.
look at live.acbl and look up Meng Shang, I guess, and maybe I will.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm going to probably default to throwing them in a similar category to Baseggio, in that okay, they had a good performance last year, and so just about anything could happen, as we've seen in the past with some of these events. But I think they might not be a favorite to make it out of the round robin that cuts down to 8 teams, would be my guess.
I'm just looking here, and Shang had a nice result in the Platinum Pairs this year. They were or at least Shang himself was um, on the GNT top flight representative. It looks like they might have been. He was second. Shang, Edward Zhu, Yan Wang, and Alex Hong, three Canadians who obviously won't be playing here were second in the 3-day Swiss last fall. So he's had some good results. I'm not seeing like a really top tier result, but some certainly some nice national level success.
Yeah, for
Like by
sure.
top tier result, I mean like a spin gold semifinal or something like that.
Right. Yeah, or, getting to the semifinals at the trials or something of that nature.
Yeah, just like some result that would suggest that they could make the semifinals this year or quarterfinals, which one never knows. I think I'm gonna actually put that team down as also mostly happy to be there, but maybe put them in, for me in your mech category, whatever the second one from the bottom was.
Yeah, that does seem reasonable for sure. I mean, if they have a similar performance to last year and they make it out of their quarterfinal into the quarterfinals, then they may well have a chance to find a big upset in one of the rounds, for sure. But okay, let's move on to the next seed that we're going to look at, which will be Team Parrish. Four-handed, same team that played last year. I mean, both of these are very well-established partnerships. Greg Humphrey's the only non-life master on the squad. So Adam playing with Greg, Danny playing with Phil Clayton, and I mean, I think again last year, like another team that had a very solid performance in the round of 16. I mean, they definitely didn't win their round of 16 matchup, and I don't think they won their lower bracket match either. So I think they lost and then lost and got knocked out pretty quickly from the event. But they did put up a good fight. And I don't know. What do you think about this team?
The two partnerships that Parrish and Humphreys have played a ton together. Sprung and Phil have played a decent amount over the last couple of years. And obviously all four of them are very good players. I would say, again, I think this is a team, like this event is just so stacked. I think this is a very good team. Are they one of the best 8 teams in the event?
Yeah.
The top 8 teams are all really excellent. So this is a team that I think, again, like they'll probably beat some good teams. They're going to put up a good fight. I would guess they will certainly not be in the bottom quarter of the bracket. Are they going to be in the second quarter of the bracket to make the round robin? I don't know. I think they're going to have to not have their best days to do it, but have 3 pretty good days of bridge.
I agree, and I think that's going to require beating some of the top teams to get there. And just as you say, looking on paper, there's a lot of really stacked teams coming into this thing, which we will get to in just a bit. But yeah, I'm going to throw them into the meh category for now.
Yeah. I would say, we'll get to them, but despite the lower seeding points, just looking at the next couple of teams that we're going to get to, I think I would fancy the Parrish team's chances over, a couple of the ones that we're about to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that is a good cue to jump on into the next team, which looks like it's going to be Kovachev.
Yeah. And
so
this is a team that I would say, if you had to put them up against Parrish, despite having a third more seeding points, I would certainly, make Parrish the money line favorite.
I think absolutely. I mean, any four-handed team with a sponsor is obviously just going to be really, really tough to navigate in some of these matches. And you might have a better chance in the round robin, honestly, than in a full 2-day match of 120 boards because, you could just get lucky sometimes when the sponsor sits out and all the decisions are there, or sorry, when the sponsor is playing and they just don't happen to get any decisions in an important match, and then other times, Hudson, Morgan, and Kovachev are going to be the ones to make all of the choices. But yeah, I mean, having them play every single board, whether or not Wilkins is someone who's going to suffer from fatigue over the first 3 days, I don't know if that's the case or not, but it's still going to be pretty tough. And yeah, I mean, very capable pro players on the team, of course, relatively experienced at this level of competition. But I would say that this is also, once again, a team that I would strongly expect to go out in the round robin stage here, not make it into the top 8. And I think they're here
and
mostly just playing for
also,
experience.
yeah, and I think probably to give Wilkins, a chance to play in a top level event for several days, which you can't always do in a spin gold or Vanderbilt. I mean, I think another factor working against this team is, where Parrish's partnership experience is going to probably boost them a little bit above their skill level. This team has no partnerships.
Exactly. Yeah. Um, I mean, I think Morgan and Kovachev have played together a little bit,
Yeah, they live pretty close to each other.
but yeah.
Yeah, but just not not a team where I think they're gonna have some kind of seamless experience. Let's say.
Matt, did you see
Anyway,
part of the ad? Is that why you're asking about sliced cheese? I've been getting all of these giant ads on screen. I've tried to cover it up, but sometimes the giant bar is a little bit large. All right, let's move on. We have up next, I believe, is going to be
believe it
Jacobs.
or not, it's Jacobs and not Rothy. Jacobs somehow has fewer seating points. I don't totally understand how that's possible.
Yeah, well, so Jacobs and Claude Vogel, I think we ended up playing against them back in last year in November. Not you and me, but when I was in Mexico. They were down there together playing in the event. Billy Cohen and Gary Kohler, I imagine, is going to be the partnership, and then Alan Sontag and Larry Robbins.
Yeah, I think that's right. Although I think Sontag may have played a little bit with Kohler at some point in his life. I'm
He
not positive.
has, yeah, absolutely. So I mean, Sontag is still, or at least a couple years ago, when I in fact played a tournament against him, he was still one of the sharpest players out there, and definitely one of the fastest.
Yeah, that guy's really good.
Yeah, I think he still has it. The rest of the squad, I mean, there are solid players that have good performances in some of these open events. But with that being said, I feel like a lot of their performances have effectively been meh. Now Billy Cohen playing with Ron Smith actually had a really strong performance in the Spin Gold a few years back, maybe 2024 it was, where they made it all the way to the finals.
No, but except that was Ron Smith playing with Chris Compton, wasn't it?
Oh, it was Ron Smith playing with Compton. That's true. That's true. Smith and Cohen play together a lot, but not. Good point.
Well, you know why? Because I think it was a Vanderbilt and Billy was unavailable because it's a big sports betting time of year. I think maybe the NCAA tournament is his busiest time of the year as a sports gambler.
Gotcha. Okay, so then the point I was about to make isn't.
Someone told me that it was sports gambling related, and I think it was probably a Vanderbilt in the NCAA.
Sure. Yeah. So basically, then I can't remember the last time that any of these players have had a solid performance in a major knockout event, which is basically what this is. I mean, this is a major knockout
Yeah.
event, and so it's great to have solid performances in the platinum pairs or the rising or border match or whatever, which I don't know if that's happened either for any of these teams, but it just doesn't compare to the experience from playing in the semifinals or finals of the Spin Gold, Vanderbilt, Solway, or the U.S. team trials in the past. So, I wouldn't be surprised if these guys make it out of the round robin into the round of 8, but I think I'm also going to end up putting them into the meh category, where maybe they would be in the third quartile of the teams.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say I kind of want to see a little bit farther up the bracket. Maybe this is one of the teams that I might call a dark horse. I think Jacobs and Vogel's performance is probably going to have much more to do with how the team does in the other four, because the other four, as you say, they're all very good. None of them is like a Jeff Maxstruth in his prime, but they're all very strong players. But again, Jacobs and Vogel, if they have a lot of hard decisions to make, there could be a rough round robin for this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, I mean, a big thing that I noticed, and maybe this was well known before I noticed it, but when we were in Mexico playing against them, there was not a lot of fun happening at the table for Jacobs and Vogel, or the other pair on their team, who I don't think are sitting here on the Jacobs team for the USBCs, but yeah, I mean, it felt like they were super serious, and if things were not going their way, they were not having a good time, and they would just start yelling at each other, and that can have a huge impact. So, I mean, like if Jacobs ends up playing against Nickell in the first round, and they might just get slaughtered, and then their team morale would be through the floor for the entire rest of the event, which could have a huge impact. But if they start well, I think they have a chance. Yeah.
Yeah. As always, screens are good.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's move on. We'll talk about Team Rothy. So this is going to have Anant Rothy probably playing with Amber Lynn, I guess?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess Duffy and Zhao do play together, so that sounds right.
Yeah, and will be playing with Drew Hoskins, which I'm guessing is a sponsored thing, but I'm not sure.
Yes.
Yeah, so six-handed.
He's a good player.
Yeah. So six-handed. I mean, I'm not certain about the experience level of some of the players. I mean, now obviously Cornelius Duffy, I don't know if he was playing with Brent in his deep run in the Vanderbilt that we recently saw, but I do know Duffy got to like the round of 16 or so. He was? Okay, so this partnership has some, relatively high level experience playing in the big team events. And obviously Will Watson and Drew Hoskins, I don't know if they've played together much as a partnership, but both of them have competed, not necessarily in the semis or finals of some of these big events, but at least in the round of 16, round of 8 for these things. And then Anant was, I think, on one of the teams last year. Let me see if I can... so he was playing with Adam Parrish last year. Oh, okay, so Greg Humphreys was not on the Parrish team last year. It was Anant playing with Adam and Phil Clayton and Danny Sprung. So I don't know about Amber's experience level. I mean, obviously she's she gets a lot from Kevin Rosenberg because they're life partners.
She was on some... I think actually they're married now, someone told me. Yeah, she was on one of these Rosenthal teams that won the mixed qualifying, I think. Or, you know what, actually, that's not true. She might have been in Salsa Maggiore when everyone got COVID, and they let people have substitutes on their teams, and I think she joined the team as a sub. I'm not positive. But I think she also maybe played with Chris Blanken on some Rosenthal mixed team. She has maybe a little less open experience, but she has USBF level experience and world level experience. So
yeah, for sure. So all these players are relatively experienced enough that this isn't going to be their first time competing in an event like this, which I think is really important. And I think there's a lot of promise from a number of the players on the team. I mean, like obviously Amber and Anant, I don't know how much practice they have playing together. I'm sure they've developed some over the past, few months since they decided to play on this team. Zhao and Duffy have, they're recently coming off a solid performance. Drew Hoskins, Will Watson, obviously, I think Will is just a super solid player. He just doesn't do things wrong, which is really valuable. And I think for a lot of those reasons, I'm somewhat tempted to put this into a possible dark horse team. I wouldn't be surprised if they get knocked out before the round of 8 in the open round robin, but I could see them getting to the semifinals. If they make it out of the round robin and then they have a solid performance in a match, many of the players on this team have demonstrated that they could potentially do that. So I think I'm willing to put Rothy into the possible dark horse category. I don't think they're going to win, and maybe that should be a qualifying point for what possible dark horse means. So maybe I should rather put them into the meh tier, but it does feel a little bit like some of the players have the potential to make a deep run in this event. So maybe collectively as a team they do as well. Hey, Shift.
Yeah, so that's interesting because, it pains me to say this. I don't really know Amber or Brent at all. The other four I know, and I really like all of them, but this is a team that uh, I would give pretty long odds to make it into the knockout stage, honestly. And, I feel bad saying it, just, because this is one of the teams that I'm rooting for, just out of, liking them and wanting to see them do well. We'll see, but I'm not super optimistic about this team's chances, honestly.
Yeah, totally fair. Totally fair. Let's see.
Sorry, Will. I know you're a friend of the stream. If you're out there listening, please prove me wrong. I would love to see you in the knockout stage.
So we have a little bit of a skip here from Rothy up to Wildofsky. I mean, almost doubling in terms of seeding points that the team comes in with. So I guess taking a look at this team six-handed, I mean, these are going to be a bunch of the older players that in the event. Wildofsky and Daub, Shermer and Chambers, Lair and Gerard, a frequent staple in senior events in the U.S. Teams, but I don't know. Let me try and pull up last year's bracket if I could figure out how to get there. I don't know if I'll be able to. Results. Bracket from the Open. So Wildofsky last year, I assume they played. I'm just taking a look. Yeah, they ended up losing to Kaplan in the opening round. And then they ended up beating Baseggio, and then they lost to Bailey. So they went 1-2. They ended up losing to, obviously, Kaplan was one of the team that ended up winning the event overall, but then they ended up losing to Bailey, which is kind of a mid-stage team in a lot of these events.
Yeah, and this is kind of, we were talking about how stacked this event is. So we've gone through only 6 teams so far. So this is 7th from the bottom out of 16. We're not even in the top half of the seeding points. And this is a really excellent team. I mean, I don't think it's a team that's super likely to make the finals or win the event, but all of these guys have had a ton of high-level success. They're all really outstanding players, and we're not even into the top half of the seeding.
Yeah, I agree. And I have been relatively impressed with Wildofsky when I've seen him play on stream.
He's a very tough opponent. Daub is, he's not a brilliant all-arounder, although he's a very strong all-arounder. But his declare play is absolutely some of the best in the world. Really, just a fantastic card player when he's declaring.
Yeah, I don't have a ton of experience with a lot of the other players on the team. I mean, I think I've played against Chambers and Hammond before a number of times, and I would consider them solid, but again, not exactly in the same tier as some of the other teams. As you say, we're gonna get there. Don't worry, we'll be there soon.
Yeah.
But
Chambers and Shermer have been playing on and off for decades.
Yeah.
Their methods are probably a little bit stuck in the past, I think, but they're not going to have accidents, nor are really Wildofsky and Daub have a 30-year partnership. Gerard and Lair a little less so, with them playing a long time. These guys all they're grinders. They're very good grinders, but their style is grinder style.
Yeah, so I think it's definitely possible that a team like this could make a move in the event. I also would not be that surprised if they get knocked out in the opening knockout stage. I'm willing to put them into the meh category for me.
So what's can you pull up your category screen? Let me see.
Sure.
I lost track of what the different tiers are.
Yeah.
Because we haven't had any in the top half, which means I kind of forget what they are at this point.
Yeah.
The dark horse chance I'm talking there. I would say, I mean, I'm sort of in my mind categorizing this as like happy to be there. Maybe one team from this group will qualify, but probably not. Like one team from this group probably will qualify, and dark horse is like, I don't know, like maybe like a favorite to qualify, but not a favorite to win. So I would say like I think I might even move this team for me into the dark horse category, where I think they're a favorite to qualify and then probably lose in the semifinal and the quarterfinal match, but they're kind of on that bubble. I'm gonna have you have Rothy as a dark horse, and I would say, like, do you really think the Rothy team is stronger than this Wowski team? I don't know. Like, they're such different teams. Maybe it's hard to compare side by side, but I feel like that's a really bold call.
For sure.
But
Yeah. Okay. I'm willing to push Wildowski up into possible dark horse. I might reconsider that once we start seeing some of the other teams that are in this like 30 to 50 seeding point category, though.
Yeah.
So let's move on. The next team on the list is going to be Bramley. And
yeah.
So this is a really interesting team. Now, I just saw Aaron Jones because we did the Real Bridge panel a few days ago. So he's been playing with Owen Lean for a long time, and they've established quite a solid partnership. In fact, in a lot of these big team events, I have a lot of respect for Aaron. I mean, both from just like I've known him for a while, but also from having discussed a lot of these hands on the Real Bridge panel. He seems to have a really pretty solid thought process about a lot of them. And also, like, I was relatively impressed with Aaron and Owen's partnership when we played against them. I only had the opportunity to play against them the one time on stream when I was playing with Ron Smith a few years back. But they were fairly impressive as a partnership overall. They were very effective and didn't do a whole lot wrong. I mean, they got a couple of decisions wrong, but that can happen to anyone. And ultimately, I mean, they just like bid to good contracts. They got to some slams. They stayed out of bad slams, stuff like that, which is pretty important to teams. Otherwise on the team, so we have Bramley and Venconaroo playing together, which I have to say that I'm very excited to see the non-Bramley Woolsey partnership. Because it felt like that was a long time coming to split up, and I don't know if that was for a specific reason for this tournament or if it was just due, but yeah, I'm excited to see what Bramley can do with someone else. And I did end up meeting Venconaroo when I was in Philly this year, and he seems like a great guy, and I think the four hands we played against them, he played pretty well. So
I was just thinking that this is like a really good vibe team. Like, Bramley I think can be like a little bit of a, like he's such a serious guy at the table. Like way at the table he's fine, but like mostly like everyone on the team is just like some like pretty happy guy.
Yeah, for sure. And then the final partnership, Adam Kaplan, Greg Hinsey. So I mean, Hinsey is no stranger to playing on teams of this nature. I think he tends to be more of like an all-arounder type person. He'll play with just about anyone. I mean, he's played a lot of the time with Josh Dunn. He's played with, I actually don't know who Hinsey...
For a while, I think.
Oh, Matt.
Ranger, I think, for quite some time.
Matt says Kaplan is playing with Bramley. Okay, interesting. Very interesting. So that means Hinsey is playing with Conneroe on the team. Very cool.
The
I mean,
partnership was reasonable, given that all three of them are Texans.
Yeah, for sure. So, okay. I mean, obviously, Adam Kaplan just comes off the Bermuda Bowl gold medal. But, I mean, like, there were a lot of things that could have gone differently in that Bermuda Bowl. I mean, we're thrilled as Americans to have won, but I do not feel like it was necessarily deserved at many points in time. That aside, like, this is definitely a team that I feel is underseeded, I would say, at 30 seeding points total, in comparison with, maybe some of the other squads.
Yeah, I think there's one certainly they're going to get to that's like, come on.
Sure.
Yeah, I would say this team, like, I would be very surprised if this team does not make it out of the round robin. I would be, I think, equally surprised if we saw them in the final.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't know whether their level is likely to be semis or quarters, but I don't think this is a team that's a realistic favorite to make the final of this event.
I agree that, part of it's going to be unpracticed partnerships, which of course does play a factor over the course of a 120 board knockout match. You'll probably get like 2 or 3 spots where like it would be helpful to have that 2 years worth of discussion about how you feel in certain auctions that will just cement what everyone's bids mean so that you don't get mixed up and play in a Q bid somewhere. So I think part of it is that, and also part of it is probably going to be, again, we come back to just like relative skill level. Everyone here is like a strong expert or world-class player that's competing in the event. I mean, sponsors aside, but ultimately there are going to be some players who just have a little bit more talent than others coming in. And, if we take a look at like the Fleisher team or the Nickell team and stuff like that, when we get to them, even the Shorey team, of course,
right. It's not an insult to Owen to say that, Brad Moss is a better player than Owen. He would say that himself.
For sure. It'll be competitive if those teams fight off or face off. Yeah. And I think there's definitely a chance that Bramley could win. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and stick them in the dark horse category as well. So, man, dark horse is turning into quite the category. Okay.
Yeah, it's, a little surprising to given the state of bridge in the U.S. overall. This is a very, very good event.
For sure. All right, let's continue on.
So I guess we're heading into the top half of the seeding points.
Yeah, and looking at it, we have, I guess it's Henner is up next.
Yeah, Vinci and Henner are within 2 1,000ths of a seeding point of each other.
Oh, it's Vinci. You're right. Vinci is up next. I'm sorry. Very good. So, this is quite the team. Now, I am in no way surprised that Grossack, I assume Grossack and Wold have decided to continue playing together. It doesn't surprise me after such a solid performance in the Bermuda Bowl. And, I mean, my pick of MVP for the event, if we have to choose one from the winning team, which, sometimes feels a bit unfair, is going to be Eddie Wold as the best player on USA 1. And, of course, Adam Grossack, I think, makes that a little bit easier because he's a really easy partner to play with, unlike Zach sometimes. So I think this is awesome to see that the two of them are continuing to play, even if it's not necessarily that conventional of a partnership. Then we have, I assume, Finn Kolesnik playing with Harrison Luba, which is a little bit interesting to me. I mean, Aaron specifically had told me a number of years ago that he thought Harrison Luba was going to develop into one of the US's great players, and it looks like he's getting a serious opportunity to prove that right now, playing on this team, and especially partnering with a strong player like Finn Kolesnik. So we'll see how that performance develops. And then, of course, we got Chris Compton playing with Richard Leonardon, the sponsor of the team. So I don't know. What are your thoughts here?
As hard as it is to bet against half the team that won last year's trials and just won the Bermuda Bowl, I'm not super again, I think this is a team that probably is going to make it out of the round robin, although it's going to depend somewhat on the sponsor pair's performance. Is this really a team that's gonna do it back to back? I don't know. my guess is like not just no, but it won't like. I feel like this is a team that rates to lose in the quarterfinals. Like maybe they could do better. Obviously, there are some really excellent players here. This, I think in the same way that we were saying, like the Bramley team is a good vibe team. I think this is kind of a not great vibe team.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I think
think
Compton is a very difficult pro to play with. So, I think even if this, especially if this is a relatively new partnership with the sponsor, I think like Compton is a really great player. He's a very difficult partner. Um, so playing with another expert, whatever, you shrug it off. I think like a sponsor who's not quite used to being able to like tune Chris out may have a rough go of it, just like second guessing themselves and having a hard time moving on to the next hand.
for sure that's definitely true. I suppose a question that I would have is in terms of the relative difference between the front four here, and let's call it the four-handed team of Kaplan that played last year. The only real difference is Harrison Luba in place of Adam Kaplan. And I mean, I think there is a serious comparison to be made here that it does feel almost like the exact same front four as played last year and ended up winning the whole thing. Now, it wasn't without any stumbles. I mean, Team Kaplan could have lost, I think, 2 of their matches that they ended up playing. I think they were very close in their opening round against Wildowski and managed to pull off the win there. And I think they were might have even been behind against Nickell at some point and ended up making a bit of a comeback. I mean, obviously, Nickell, a very strong team.
I kind of remember them steamrolling the trials last year.
They steamrolled the semis and finals, but like early on, they were like they had some close calls for sure. I don't think it was necessarily like in doubt coming into the last like 5 boards of play in any of the matches, but I do recall their matchups were like relatively close in terms of the imps scored. So I mean, they did dominate. Like they showed off the best performance, which is why they won. But I think it could have gone a different way. And I think we're very happy that it didn't. But yeah, I mean, it feels like the front four here. I think I'm going to have to push back on this. I think this is a serious contender to win just because they have, as you say, 3 of those 4 from the winning team last year. Not taking away any sort of credit from Hurd and Bathurst, who ended up adding on to the team and were a solid third pair that ended up cementing that gold medal at the Bermuda Bowl. But the 4 players, I mean, Wold, Kolesnik, and Grossack from last year's win, I'm going to give them a chance. Like, I hear what you're saying, that Compton and Leonardon are going to be a bit of a wild card on this team, but I'm actually going to give Da Vinci a chance. I'll say they have a chance to win, just because, I mean, hey, they did it before. Like half of their team did it before, and I still do have a serious amount of respect for Grossack and Wold, as well as Finn Kolesnik, of course. So.
No, I'm with you on all that. I have them as a dark horse. I think this is a team that. I mean, as I said, I expect them to, to certainly make it on the round robin and have a chance, but I would be surprised to see this as one of the last 2 contenders.
Sounds good. Okay, let's move on to Henner now, who is, as you say, 2,000ths more seeding points than their counterparts here, which doesn't even make sense to me because, like, in the spreadsheet, they only have values that go to the 100th. Oh, I guess when you divide by 6, never. Okay, I take it all back. I'm just bad at math. Fair enough.
Right.
So Henner and Ivaturi have played together for a long, long, long time at this point. I know I played on a team with them back in 2012, maybe, in like the Spin Gold. We were 4-handed, me and Mitch Towner playing with them. But then let's see, we have Debbie Rosenberg and Max Shearson are going to be playing together, and Jeff Wolfson and Steve Garner. So there are like two sponsors on the team.
And I say this with love for Crystal and Uday. I'm having dinner with them in a couple hours. I like them both very much. Obviously, they're great. They're not a top tier partnership, so two pairs with sponsors and one pair that would be a good pair for a lot of events, but is not you know probably even in the top 2/3 of pairs in the trials, just given how tough this event is.
Yeah,
I mean, they have a
it's
lot of seeding points, but a lot of them were because Wolfson and Garner were accumulating them playing on spin gold teams with, David Berkowitz and Jeff Mexstrath and not Debbie Rosenberg and Max Shearson.
exactly. So yeah, I mean, this is definitely a huge overseed for an event like this. And yeah, I think they're going to struggle in the event overall. I'm going to give them the meh category. I think it would be reasonable for them to get out of the round of 16 or the round robin, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did not make it out.
Yeah, I have them in my happy to be here category. And
That's probably
again,
fair.
like with the Rothy team, it's a team that I'm rooting for. I want to see this team do well. I just think that they're outclassed compared to the really great teams in here.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm convinced. I absolutely agree with that. I'm sliding them down a little bit. So happy to be here for Team Henner, and I know that Crystal and Uday do enjoy playing in this event. As we mentioned many times, like it's a solid event to play in, and especially if you have the time and resources to devote to just showing up and playing, and you can find teammates to compete, then I would highly recommend doing it. So I think that's why they're there, and I guess that's a good reason for them to be happy to be here.
And to some extent, friendship. Crystal and Steve Garner are very close. I think, Garner and Wolfson are close. Crystal, I think, reasonably close with Wolfson. Everyone likes Debbie and Max. So, to some extent, this is, it's a very good team of friends, but to some extent, it's a team of friends playing and not a team that's really expecting to be booking plane travel to wherever it is.
Exactly. Okay, so let's move on then to who is next. I'm looking. Is it Goodman? It's Goodman.
Somewhere in the 60s. Is it Goodman?
Yeah.
Oh, Goodman at 51. Yeah, it's like this kind of what it's like. When you compare this Goodman squad with 51, 4% more seeding points, give or take, than 5% more seeding points than the Henner team that's right below them. Come on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so Rodwell and Simpson have played together for quite a while. Pacell and Goodman have played together for quite a while. So, I mean, similar team makeup, right? Like we have a pro partnership, KDR and Shan, who have played together quite a bit and have had solid performances. In fact, these are the two guys that are basically carrying the seeding points for the team a little bit. And then two sponsored pairs, but Rodwell and Simpson, maybe somewhat equivalent to Garner and Wolfson in a way, in terms of the sponsorship. But then Goodman and Pacell, I think definitely a much stronger partnership than Rosenberg and Shearson on the other team. And all of these players and pairs have solid experience at this level of competition and solid experience playing even in like the semifinals of these matchups, sometimes even the finals. So this is a team that I think is a serious contender to, like a contender to win, but maybe, I would put them in like chance to win is probably where I'd throw the Goodman team. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing is both sponsored on this team, Andy Goodman, Doug Simpson, are very good players. So, are they going to play as well as some of the really top experts in their seats or other tables? No, but they're going to hold their own. Both of those guys have, both plenty of experience and plenty of bridge skill.
Yeah, and of course, Kevin and Shan, I mean, they almost won this event last year, right? Like they were on the Shorey team that faced off against Kaplan in the finals, the upper bracket finals. And so they had a serious chance to win the event. So they're not some sort of slouch when it comes to like having a chance to win these things. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a solid team that has a serious chance to win the event. Maybe not one of the top tier contenders, but we will get to them shortly. So let's go ahead and move on to Team Bailey, therefore. And I think we've seen many of the players on this team before. So Bailey and Corbell playing together, the sponsored pair. Granger and Wooldridge have played together quite a bit, and Josh John and Roger Lee. All of these partnerships have a sizable amount of top tier competitive experience. But for whatever reason, just like like looking at the team, I mean, they can make stuff happen, but I'm like very tempted to stick them into the dark horse category because I mean, Bailey and Corbell, probably one of the weaker sponsored partnerships, if I had to guess, when we're getting towards the top of the standings.
Daniel's, I think, not a very good player. Daniel really is a great player, but I think Bailey is a weaker sponsor than either of the two sponsors we talked about in the previous team.
Matt says Bailey would play with J-Don. I don't think so. I don't think that's the way the partnerships are going to work.
With J-Don. I mean, I think he has played some with J-Don, but I just think the Don Lee partnership is so natural that it makes more sense for those guys to play together. Daniel, I think, is, Corbell, an easy partner to play with. So, but maybe could be Daniel and Don or Lee, right? They're all living in the same area, so forming a partnership would be pretty easy.
Oh, Matt says he's played against Corbell and Roger and Swisses when they were on the Bailey team. I think Swisses are a little bit different because, especially in like regionals or sectional or whatever sort of event you're playing against them, they might just mix up partnerships because they feel like it.
Hang on, we can solve this because they've had to file their convention cards.
That's true. Okay, let me let's figure this out.
Taking a look here.
So
it is Lee and Corbell.
Oh my God, it is.
And Bailey.
Wow.
And Bailey and Don.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for correcting me.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt, for correcting us.
So.
I mean, to me, this is like, dark horse at best, by which I mean, I think they're going to make it out of the round robin, but I give this team virtually no chance to win a quarterfinal match. Partly because they're going to be playing that quarterfinal match, given where they're seeded against one of the top seeds, and I don't like this team's chances against the top seed.
Yeah, that's probably a good way of putting it. It does seem like a team of this nature might just be outclassed a little bit against like a Nickell or a Shorey or, one of the other top seeds.
Yeah. I mean, again, kind of like getting to what we were saying before, sorry to interrupt you, but like, if, let's say, Bailey and Da Vinci come out of their round robin seeded 7th and 8th, and they each have to play 1 or 2, which one of them do you think is more likely to win that match against the 1 or 2 seed? Like, definitely Da Vinci, right? Despite Bailey having, the dozen more seeding points here.
Yeah. Why can I not move Team Bailey from the... I can't complete my tier list. Oh, no. What a mess. Also, where did I have Da Vinci? I can't move Da Vinci either? No, my tier list thing is just broken. Help.
That's all right. I've got it on the spreadsheet, so you can solve it at your leisure. I can mail this to you afterwards. Well, we're into the top 4 teams. And if they'll qualify, they will be the top 4 teams coming out, right? The round robin only matters for qualifying, but they revert to the original seed for placement.
Sorry. Shift, do you have a solution? I can click and choose category. Oh, okay. So where did I put Da Vinci? I forgot. Da Vinci I had in Chance to Win.
Da Vinci as a Chance to Win team.
And Bailey was in Possible to... Okay, thank you, Shift, for noticing my failures. Excellent. Very good. Okay, sorry, you were saying we are getting to the top 4 teams, and basically everyone here has close to, if not over 100 seeding points. So next up, Rosenthal is the one that's slightly coming in behind the pack because of Genasar, in fact, a little bit lower on the seeding points than the rest of the group.
Yeah, so Eldad, I believe no longer resident in the U.S. permanently, but he became a U.S. resident for bridge purposes when he was living in Chicago, I believe, while his wife worked on a PhD. So since the Rosenthal team for the regular cycle has a bunch of internationals on it, they have to throw together a team for this, although it's been pretty stable the last few years. I think this team has been more or less consistent over at least the last couple of USBFs.
Yeah, and so, Rosenthal ended up getting out last year as the second place qualifier after losing a little bit early with, was it the exact same team? No, they had Rosenberg instead of, wait. No, it was the exact same team. Okay, so this was the exact same team that qualified second place last year. And they ended up making it to the
three good partnerships.
Yeah. They ended up making it to the quarterfinals of the Bermuda Bowl, where they ended up getting knocked out. I forget who they lost to. So
yeah,
this is a serious team that could win for sure. And
yeah, I'm putting them in my Chance to Win category. Although again, this is a team that, we used to say they underperform a fair amount, and maybe that's not quite as true anymore. But it's still a team that I think tends to run a little hot and cold. I think one reason is Andrew Rosenthal. On his good days, he's a really outstanding player, but on his bad days, just a lot of hims go away. So I think some of the streakiness is which Rosenthal shows up on any given day. I think some of it is both Rosenberg and Zach Grossack can be pretty high volatility. We've seen just a lot of interesting results coming out of that table. And interesting when it's win 10 on a bunch of hands, the team is going to do great. Interesting when, things don't go their way. It's tough. So, this is, I think, a team that when it's in good form can really just dominate. But, they're high vol.
For sure. And yeah, I decided to stick them in Chance to Win as well, having thought through it. I think the format of this actually is beneficial to them because they're going to make it out of the round of 16, whereas in theory, they could have lost their opening round of 16 match. I think the round robin format makes it very likely that they advance.
I think that's true, but of course, as the 4th seed, they would be shuffled and playing against one of the 13 through 16 teams, and I would take this team over any of those 4. But yeah, as you say, the odds that they fail to qualify the round robin, I think, are close to 0.
Yeah, so it seems reasonable. I might think about, after we've looked through the other 3 teams on here, whether or not I want to stick them in a top contender category. But I guess let's...
Yeah, I think they're right on that bubble, as you say. We'll go through the next 3 squads.
Yeah, so up next...
this is a team... If this is the winner, you'd be like, that team's really good.
Yeah, for sure. And other than, who was it? The Da Vinci team, this is the other team that did well in the Bermuda Bowl last year and in the trials last year.
Right.
So, I think they have a serious chance. Let's move on to Team Shorey here, where we have reestablished the the five-handed squad that had been playing together for so long, many, many years ago. And I mean, every once in a while they get the band back together, but now we have Wolpert and Shorey playing with Kraniak and Demoy and Bathurst and Hurd. So this is another one of the pairs who ended up getting the gold medal in the recent Bermuda Bowl. Team Shorey overall, I mean, just Raj and Gavin specifically have had solid performances in a number of events throughout the calendar year, although I think the Vanderbilt did not exactly go their way this time around. But the Soloways, they ended up winning. They were playing with the Australians then. And just overall, they've had a bunch of solid all-arounder performances. So I think just partnership development-wise, they've done a very good job in recent years, getting on the same page about a lot of things, as well as the fact that, I mean, Raj obviously enjoys learning about the game, so I think he's constantly trying to improve as well. And then the other partnerships, I mean, we don't need to say much about them. Cran and Vince, obviously one of America's top partnerships for a long time. Bathurst and Hurd, same way. I think that this definitely is a team with a chance to win. I don't think that is... this is definitely a top contender. I'm putting them in the top category here. I don't think that should be surprising at all.
No, I think I'm with you on that. So I have a question for you that you might not be able to answer, but if you can, maybe someone in the chat can. They each have 50 international placing points.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what those are from? Because like Kaplan with his Bermuda Bowl win, he only has 40.5. Did this team win a transnational recently or something? Like what are these 50 international points?
So I don't know exactly how this thing works, and there might be something on the website that explains it. But it's effectively just an international master points thing. So you collect them, and I think there is some decay to it, right? You know, like
so I assume PP is placing points.
Yeah. But like
which is not the same as master points.
But it works effectively the same. Like you can get capped on this.
No, I understand. My question is, where did this team win so many? Because like they didn't win a Bermuda Bowl. Did they win a transnational? You know what I mean? Like what event gave them these 50 points?
Okay, so I mean, like I'm just going off the top of my head. So Wolpert and Shorey ended up playing in the open pairs thing. The WBF pairs thing last year, and they did pretty well in that. Hurd and Bathurst.
I would be very surprised if pairs tournaments awarded placing points for teams event though.
I have no idea. Then I don't know. I mean,
I'll take a look later because I'm curious.
Yeah, Raj here in the chat says the IPP thing is a bit of a misnomer. Like, I think that it effectively is just like international master points. And so, I mean, like the other four, Hurd and Bathurst played in the Bermuda Bowl, and they've obviously played at other events as well. Kraniak and Demoy Kraniak and Demoy played in the mixed, the Wuhan Cup last year for the U.S.
Thank you, Raj.
So he says last year's trials plus the last four U.S. majors. Oh, okay. So it's not an international thing. It's just for internally in the country. Yeah. Oh,
I see. So it's the same. It's the point that used to award buys, except now it doesn't award buys, but it still counts for the seeding. That makes sense. Thank you for that, and best of luck. I think Rob and I both have you as one of our top contenders.
No pressure. Yeah, but it'll be a fun event.
But yeah,
nonetheless, let's move on. So to our non-completely capped team at 103.88, Team Fleisher, and this one is we have a bit of a shakeup here. So Fleisher in the past, I mean, last year ended up having Gruen Moss, who they still do on this team, but they were playing with Bathurst and Hurd. Bathurst and Hurd have been kicked out, having won the Bermuda Bowl, of course, because they're not needed. Or maybe their price went up too high, who knows? But they've picked up a very interesting partnership here, and one that has been making their way up the rankings for quite some time. And Platnick and Rosenberg, these guys have fought hard to get here, I have to say. I mean, it's not as if I've been like following their career, but I think when I started streaming 3 or 4 years ago at this point, Platnick and Rosenberg were on teams. I mean, they played together a bunch, but they were on teams that were, in like the Spin Gold and Vanderbilt tended to be around like the 30 seed position. And now they've moved all the way up and they're on one of the top competitors in the US, and I think deservedly so, both as a partnership and individually. Like, I think these guys have put on...
When you win a bunch of Spin Goals and Vanderbilts and Solways, everyone suddenly wants to play with you?
Yeah. Who would have thought? So, I mean...
Also, sorry, go on.
Well, I was going to say, so, like, kind of these past accomplishments, I personally think they mean a lot. A lot of people just don't. Like, a lot of people will have the viewpoint that, like, this is Rosenberg and Platnick's opportunity to actually prove themselves now that they're playing on a serious team.
They won a Spin Gold or Vanderbilt four-handed. How much more proving do they have to do?
Look, I'm just saying that, like, this is the philosophy that a lot of people have. It's not my personal philosophy, but, like...
My philosophy is if you keep winning Spin Goals and Vanderbilt's really good.
I think that is a reasonable take, for sure. So we'll see how they end up performing. I mean, it's definitely a new dynamic to play on a new team like this because, in the past, especially if you're used to playing on non-sponsored teams, which I think Platnick and Rosenberg are frequently playing in non-sponsored teams, things are a little bit different when you have to be a pro pair six-handed playing on some of these teams. Like, you have to trust your teammates that they're going to bring back the right results, and you have to be ready to perform at your table when given an opportunity as well. So we'll keep an eye on them, but I think they definitely are deserving of being here on this team to replace Bathurst and Hurd. I'm not going to say if it's a downgrade or an upgrade for Fleisher, but maybe time will tell. We'll see as those two teams clash at the end of the event. But yeah, I think this is definitely a team that is...
Whichever it is, it's not... In imp expectancy at the end of the event, it is not a huge difference between those two pairs, I think.
For sure.
I think probably I would give Bathurst and Hurd like a very slight edge, but slight. Plotnick and Rosenberg are an absolute top-tier partnership.
Absolutely. And maybe you're just saying that because Bathurst and Hurd have a sizable amount more experience, which I think does play a little bit of a factor. But...
yeah, there's definitely something to that. By the way, I would say I don't know exactly what was going on with the roster changes, but my guess would be that on this Fleischer team, Plotnick is not being compensated, whether or not Rosenberg is, and Fleischer, same reason he hires internationals for the cycle. He likes having, cost value propositions on his team. So it's, kind of a good fit for that to get a top tier pair where, you don't have to pay a top tier price.
Absolutely. And I think that's like another point going back to, how like this is their chance to prove themselves. Like if they do have success here, then maybe, I don't know if they want to be hired. I know that like Rosenberg and Platnick might not necessarily need the money to be hired as like
Rosenberg probably does. Platnick definitely does not.
Yeah, but so like I think for them they kind of prefer to play on non-sponsored teams if they can, but this would be an opportunity, like especially if they believe that like playing on a Fleischer team is basically like playing on a non-sponsored team due to like Marty being such a strong player himself. They might be like, like if we do well, then we can ask for more money for next year. So I think a serious contender to take home the crown this time.
Yeah, and I would say, I also think, particularly like Kevin Rosenberg, his income is bridge, where Plotnick, Doesn't need bridge income to make his lifestyle work, obviously. But they may also just take this view that you know what, like Kevin Rosenberg is in demand for plenty of events. He can make a nice living in bridge without having to worry about hiring himself out on a cycle team. So like whatever. I'm not sure if Fleischer is. I was thinking that I'm sure Fleischer sponsoring him, but I wouldn't be surprised if he is. But they may just have this attitude that they're willing to play on the best amateur team, forego the paycheck for some of these events, and you know what, like the marginal money would be nice, but if you like winning spin golds and don't feel like you need the extra paycheck 3 or 4 times a year, then yeah, like play the spin gold in the amateur teams and make your living in the other events.
Absolutely. Um,
It's
well,
hard. I think for a lot of people they just can't afford to do that trade off. But Kevin Rosenberg has no kids. He lives in some apartment. Like he doesn't need to make that kind of living.
and I mean, his wife is very well paid. So,
Does she work at Google or something?
well, no, she's a lawyer out there.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I never knew what she did actually. I just knew they lived in Northern California, so I assumed it was tech.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know exactly what she does, but I
Yes.
think Dana knows. But
Yeah,
anyway,
so that obviously is nice. Like having to rely on bridge income, it just means that you're gonna have to make bridge trade offs. So nice position to be in.
for sure. Well, let's move on to our
All right,
number
one team
one
to go.
seed overall, Team Nickell. Um, oh boy. I mean,
Yeah, I
what
mean, yeah.
what
Number one seed, for how much longer?
Yeah, I mean, it's, I don't think that we have other Matt in the chat right now, who is the number one Nickell hater on the planet, but he does like to see them do poorly. And I think we're kind of reaching that tipping point, or maybe we've already reached it. Like, I know they've had some recent success in some big events. Like, maybe it was 2023 was the last time they won a Spin Gold or Vanderbilt. They still have solid performances. I mean, they do get the 1 seed overall. They make deep runs in these major NABC team events all the time. They have had, like, they had a solid performance last year in the trials as well, but they did get knocked out
Yeah,
pretty
they were in a
early.
national knockout final within the last year.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So they definitely have the chance to take home the top spot here in this event. And of course, they come in with all these seeding points, which is, I don't actually know how seeding works coming out of the round robin, if the round robin plays a factor or if it's just going to be original seeding. But I would expect them to qualify pretty highly, get a high seed going into the knockout stage, and win a number of matches. But is that number of matches going to be 3? I'm going to say no. I'm going to put them in chance to win, but it seems to me like Shorey and Fleischer are going to be the two front runners in the event, just based on like what we've seen from all of these players in the past like year or so. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I already put them in chance to win on my sheet, and again, where I have Shorey and Fleischer as my two, co-top seeds in the Ganser universe, Ganserverse, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I think the thing is, so I actually looked at this up this morning because I was curious. So one thing that we've seen, obviously, Levin and Weinstein and Greco and Hampson are obviously both still two of the absolute top U.S. partnerships. We've seen just such a difference in the Nick Nickell of even 5 years ago and the Nick Nickell of the last year or two. I'm not sure if he's 80 yet, but he's getting up there. And it feels like his game is really degraded. Yeah, he's going to be 80 next year. And it feels like his game is really degraded quite a bit, even over the last couple of years. To the point where I think that pair used to be the team's secret weapon, where, first with Dickie Freeman and then Ralph Katz, they were the best sponsor pair before Fleischer was playing regularly. Um, and now I think that pair is a liability. And look, Ralph Katz is going to be 70 next year, and he's still playing very well. but is he playing as well as the Rothcats of 15 years ago when this partnership was relatively new? After Dickie Freeman passed away, Nickell certainly is not the Nick Nickell of 15 years ago when he was in his early 60s. And, like all of a sudden, it goes from them being a source of confidence for the team when they were sitting in their sets to, compared to Shorey and Gavin or Fleischer and Martell, probably a liability. So, that makes just a huge, huge difference if that swing is that pair versus their sponsor equivalent being, plus 20 when they're sitting in to minus 10. That's a huge, huge difference, even if they have, possibly the two best other pairs in the event. And it's not even clear that Levin Weinstein and Greco and Hampson are the best other two pairs in the event. There's a lot of really excellent pairs on the other teams we gave a chance to win.
Yeah,
But I
for
think
sure.
for me, that's the big difference that Nickell and Katz just are, they're now a liability where they used to be an asset. And I don't think this team can overcome that anymore.
I agree wholeheartedly with everything you said there. And I think that's one of the main reasons that I would probably not put Nickell as one of the favorites in my book. So yeah, I mean, looking back at the list, let me just take a quick picture. Do I want to rearrange any of these categories at all?
Yeah, so I have two top contenders. I think I'm a little more conservative in the chance to win category. I only have two, which are Nickell and Rosenthal. Like, apparently, I'm just, mirroring the seating here. Um, you gave Da Vinci a chance to win where I didn't, and you gave Goodman a chance to win where I also didn't. I think those are, favorites to qualify, but like, semifinal, quarterfinal type teams. Um, but, who knows? I mean, and kind of, also gives you an idea of how deep this event is. I have four teams in the happy to be here category. I think maybe you have, yeah, not the same four, but you also have four.
Yep.
I mean, that means that kind of we have 12 teams that we think have a very strong shot to take eight slots. That's a tough event.